bots trying to find an angle they can, trying to find somebody out of position.
We're gonna go through on this. Oh, what a roll. They're gonna deflect. White gonna go in.
It's going to be a really, really interesting one.
Oh my god. All of this competition could be so damn close, so I cannot wait for us to finally decide who's going to be the champion. We are expecting some chaos, some great moments.
Beast Mode has killed 3. Only gonna really need that rampage, so it's gonna clear it out. Santi gonna get themselves a big old 4K. Oh. Santi's getting rid of 3, clearing out the house.
That is crazy.
Nunji actually kills 3 people.
This team feels entirely different on this faster composition. Now Saga4 is hanging around, getting onto the high ground. Post bomb's gonna stick under Leaky. They're not gonna be able to survive it at the end of the day. Blue manages to find a 3K.
Rio shoving this Ana into a corner. Woo! One more for the road for Rio.
That is all signs go. Melophobia with 3 Melophobia. Start the fight. They'll end the fight. Oh my god. Beagle Bus, they have to play aggressively into this energy. Popping off in a moment where you needed just that. Ruby in that backline. Oh, the flick. Looking for it. Oh my goodness. The 4th one as well. Do they get the 8? They get the 8.
Good evening, CGL fans, at least on the NA side of things. Good evening. If you're over in Europe and you're still up, what the heck are you doing? That's going to be the question to start here. But we are going to some more CGL action here tonight. We've got the NA console open for your screens, your viewing pleasure. I, of course, cannot yap about it alone. I've got Soav by my side. How you doing tonight?
It's a beautiful night, and the first of several games coming on. I mean, it's worth noting there's going to be a couple more going on. Once we kick it off, there's going to be Overwatch galore. If you're already over, in Sweden, like last said, hey, look, if you're waiting for the main event, there's plenty of fun action here on CGL too.
Exactly. Amazing schedule lined up for you. We got Demon Kittens going against Vicious Control here. One of our multiple vicious teams, to say the least here. But later on this evening on CGLs 2 and 3 respectively, we have Golden Hour going up against Ace of Spades and Dackerson versus Vicious Inferno. I think that one's going to be interesting to watch as well here.
Yeah, I mean, we are getting to the point, again, so a lot of these teams are coming into, we're playoffs now. A lot of these teams are coming into buys, but a lot of this is going to kind of really separate a lot of the wheat from the chaff. We're going to see many of these teams, we're going to see them really set the pace for the rest of this playoff bracket. It's been a long season, and considering, we just had a meta shift realistically, we're really going to see if people are really able to adjust in the, the 11th hour.
Adjusting has always been the name of the game with Overwatch, and this playoffs, like you said, is not going to be any exception to that rule here. But let's focus in on this match for tonight. You got the Demon Kittens, who we're going to take a closer look at first here. Pretty solid season, 5-3 overall, but that regular season is in the past, and now with the postseason before them, hopefully this squad, you got Reveroni and Spark on DPS, Chicano being the reliable tank, and Pika Pepper and Spec on those supports. The squad can hopefully turn it up.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of pieces that have been around CGL in this. A couple of the previous Black on John season team members here, a couple of Lunaris, and even Mizuchi Esports. So really, it feels like this squad is just trying to piece together a bit of a super team, and they've done fairly well at that. It's just still, you saw them in the highlight reel. They have a lot of great pieces in their squad.
Yeah, I mean, NA console, I feel like, has been a standout this season with just the amount of God squads that are in it. Yeah. Speaking of God squads, on the other side of things, Vicious Control definitely can fit that criteria as well here. You have Wavy Creatures and Rafa being those DPS, Lemonade starting out on tank, and then Naomi and QB being those supports here. And don't get me wrong, it's nice to see the Bastion highlighted, but I think heading forward, that might not be the hero we see.
Well, maybe not, depending on how you feel about Bastion versus Reaper, and depending on what your opponent's tank is going to be. But, I mean, the Vicious Org in general has a pretty long-standing history in CGL, and considering I'm counting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the Vicious Org, teams in this playoff bracket, I think that really gives you a better idea of how well trained this org is in regards. So Vicious Control, I mean, they have a lot on their mind, but they also have a lot of, they have a lot of proving to the rest of their squad mates to do too.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's probably some management rivalry going on. Which Vicious team can be the one to go the furthest, even take the whole thing. But for Control to do it tonight, they're going to have to start out conveniently on Control, And is anybody surprised that we have Lee Jung Tower as the first pick?
I mean, it is in the pool, so of course it's going to be. This was a higher seeds pick, which I believe was Demon Kittens, and literally surprising absolutely nobody. So loser of this will then get to pick map and mode, but for the Kittens, this will be their choice. I mean, it's the one everybody scrims, everybody knows it here. The real question to me is, what are the Demon Kittens going to bring out? Obviously, they chose this because it's one they play and scrim a lot, but are we going to see something a little bit different? When you look at a lot of the collegiate and a lot of the higher level teams, it's been moving towards like Mauger Reaper and a lot of these high sustain comps again. So I'm really curious, knowing what these teams are capable of, do they choose to maybe kind of bend towards that meta, or are they going to try to force their way on their own preferred comps?
Carving your own path is always the most difficult way forward, but sometimes it is what is necessary for these squads. But we will have to wait and see. Like you said, a lot of high tier play. Really been loving that Malga and Reaper combo, and of course the Brig Juno backline. I mean, it survived so many nerfs at this point simply because the dev team, maybe missing on some of these shots, to say the least. But overall, it can create an interesting atmosphere with that backline providing those reliable heals.
I mean, it's worth noting that Ana did get a huge buff to her individual healing. It's just unfortunate that Juno still exists and that her ultimate is still insanely good. It looks like for the most part, we're going to be about what we expected. If Spark chooses to stay on this Pharah, I actually think this is probably the best case scenario. Pharah also kind of a sleeper in this meta right now, especially in a world where your hit scan, usually opposing you, is on the Reaper. So I do think Demon Kittens have a great read to kind of pepper into that. Wavy Creature over on the ground Pharah there. Okay, they're going to go to the Mei instead. And I do like that. They're going to put a lot more focus on putting the pressure on the tank fight. And I think that's going to be, it's going to be a question as to whether Spark really kind of upsets this. Rafa is going to go back and make the swap, seeing after giving that up. Yeah, they're going to go get a traditional hit scan to kind of make sure Spark just doesn't run the gambit here. I think that's smart.
Very smart. You don't want this far to go uncontested, as the Rockets are already peppering here, but it will be Demon Kittens walking forward, and now Vicious Control has to decide where they want to take this fight. Some well-placed shots is going to send Spark to the ground for the moment as the point unlocks, and it seems as though Demon Kittens are just going to retreat there, let Vicious Control slowly start to follow them in here, but that speed ring engage is going to come through now with a slam. Lemonade incredibly low, though, having to pop that cardiac overdrive to get that health back and able to do just that. So now we're still in a 5v5 situation. Chicano incredibly low. They have to respect the sightlines of this Cassidy here, but the Mei wall comes through with a perfect angle here, cutting everybody off, and Lemonade is able to finish up with a beautiful stomp here. Now Spec falling, this Malga just shooting these miniguns until Kingdom Come, it seems. Spark manages to get that one, but Vicious Control will finally take the point.
Again, a little interesting rotation through there for Vicious Control. They ended up trying to use ring first, and generally, you kind of want to save your ring because your opponents are going to disengage onto that. I think Demon Kittens have to kind of realize that with the Pharah, you need to poke a little bit more, and you need to really kind of take the space for Spark. So again, Spark is almost all the way to a barrage. They just need to continue to set that up and put pressure onto Rafa and Lemonade to just free up the airspace for them.
Should be the goal here, as we're seeing a bit of the Malga battle here. Both teams trying to force this cardiac overdrive. Oh, the cage gets canceled. Lemonade is stomped on. Absolutely tragic here. Now Vicious Control trying to turn things with their orbital ray, but it's not looking good for them as it's all blue in the kill feed. Demon Kittens with a massive stomp will take the point back.
Ooh, committed High Noon and also the ray into that is a huge investment to come out just behind. Now Demon Kittens with all 5 just win on the pure they just have more raw aggression. They just need to not overextend into this, no matter the damage, the control of space they have at all. It should just be a blank fight from Vicious Control. Just get out as much as you can and try to pressure out these ultimates. You're not going to get progress here, so it's a slow uphill.
Slow uphill indeed, but as they're getting more and more space towards the point, they could think about investment potentially, especially with the Blizzard. And Chicano actually incredibly low, can't get the healing in time, so Lemonade already has a good advantage. Now Reveroni trying to do what they can to put some damage into this Malga. Ultimately, though, Demon Kittens is just going to retreat with their 4 members safely intact.
Ooh! I'm so confused. We lose one and we immediately get out. It's disciplined, but I do think that we could have at least fired back with something and kind of not given it up for. That's a fat finger. That has to be a fat. No, we caught one. We tried to catch the Reaper. Okay.
Yeah, and so now that Blossom coming through, it'll be coming damage through onto Lemonade, taking them out of the fight. Again, Amalgam missing is a bad indicator of things to come for the rest of their squad. That rally ultimately giving that extra health, but not much else to the side of Vicious Control here, as it seems like it's been enough for Demon Kittens to flip back.
It was 3, and it was, you know, your ult combination, your cage plus your fight, and you also sent in laser into that, so maybe a little bit of a too heavy an investment. QB does have their own orbital ray coming in, and that should be enough paired in with a cage fight to kind of win this out. It's just, again, going to come down to do they actually take advantage of it.
We'll have to see here as now the Deadeye is trying to be held in the cage. That shield will do nothing for the rest of the squad, but Spark trying to turn the tides here. Now Vicious Control has a slight numbers advantage, but they're losing it fast. Chicano now realizing they're the last one on point. A stomp is not going to save you as we're flipping it back one more time.
It is close, 87 to 80, and coming into last fight territory, and QB did manage to save the orbital ray there. So this is going to be an aggressive ray wins this for Vicious Control here. They're also coming into Blizzard with not a defensive ultimate in fight, so making sure they can just get a single pick out of either of these upcoming ults just guarantees them this fight. Oh, what is this positioning? Where are we fighting?
We're fighting in the back of point for some reason. That's going to force the speed ring out from QB here. Now the orbital ray dropped on top. Means Chicano is going to be deleted from this world. Now Demon Kittens losing member still has to try to find a way onto this point, but I think it is a fruitless endeavor here. After a back and forth fight, Vicious Control will take the night market.
Ambitious is the word I'll use for Chicano there, who tried to, I mean, I know you're running out of time, you kind of have to get into position and somebody needs to touch, but that kind of an angle is not going to work, especially if the team follows up. You can do that if you're going to take that flank alone, but realistically, you gave up so much of your space and walked right into Vicious Control's trap, so I don't, probably just a little bit of nerves coming into that last fight. Changes from the DPS line make sense here. Rafa assumes we're still going to end up on that Pharah. I mean, you don't usually play that in control point. Wavy is hovering the Junkrat and may actually stick on it here. This is a good place for Junkrat to realistically see a lot of value. Spark also eyeing the Venture, I think makes a lot more sense. There's a lot more pick potential and a lot more disrupt coming into that. So considering Vicious Control, was pretty handedly in control of most of that and took and controlled the space. I actually don't hate Spark coming out on this Venture. It gives him an angle to kind of play similar to a Tracer and create a little bit of a crossfire and some errors on the side of Demon Kittens.
It's interesting, but what's more interesting is Rafa just finds a quick flashbang followed up with a fan, taking Reveroni out of the fight here. Now, both Malgas having used that cardiac overdrive. It is going to be Chicano running for the hills, knowing the Reaper's not with him, and now Spark missing as well, as Vicious Control will just get a quick cap going.
I mean, it is also a tough space for Spark to be in, because between the Junkrat and the Cassidy, you just have two big anti-flankers, and they will give it up and go to the Sojourn instead. Lemonade is a little bit deep there, but should be able to get out and get healed up in time. Spark, again, just gonna try to play for picks here, and this is still a pick-based comp, so Spark just has to play and make sure they actually get this value from the rails.
The rails are going to be crucial here, but what's more is currently, since Deadeye being held, gets a little bit of damage in onto Chicano, but not going to come through with the pick. Now, shots firing wildly, not going to come through once again, but the damage will be followed up on by Wavy Creature. Takes Reveroni out of the fight, this Reaper, and now the Cassidy in the backline just firing off shots. Somebody has to try to deter them, but it seems like the members of Demon Kittens are falling one after the other here.
I mean, the thing that Vicious Control really has going for them is they are a lot more bursty than Demon Kittens right now. Reaper takes a lot of time to really find any sort of value and wear down the tank. Sojourn really is more for controlling space. But, I mean, Junkrat and Cassidy, they just both burst down. It only takes a couple of hits, and they are committing right in.
They were well aware that everybody was in that corner. Now tons of ultimates being thrown in on top of each other. Vicious Control wants to win this one out. A Stomp is going to cancel the Death Blossom here, but it won't be enough to save Lemonade's life. Now another Deadeye coming through from Rafa does not ultimately come up with any kills here. And Vicious Control, despite investing 4 into that fight, are going to come up with nothing.
I mean, the Deadeye is kind of a throwaway in a lot of regards. You might even just give up the cast, but that seems to be very hot for Rafa right now, so I don't hate that. Spark is going to hold on to that overclock. and pair that into, again, the, hopefully Chicano should be able to get a cage fight in a decent area so that there can be capitalization with that overclock coming in. This tire, though, just going to play it out. Yeah, this is too long.
Yeah, just looking for opportunities, but that one will be right there. Chicano incredibly low, has to use that cardiac overdrive, get some healing into the cage fight, as now that overclock that you said was triggered, but immediately trapped up and followed up by Rafa. Now the numbers advantage in Vicious Control's favor here. Some whiff shots is going to allow Reveroni to get one in the fight, but they only get the one here, and now Control back in favor.
Vicious Control just has the better comp right now. They are just winning more on the frontline fights here and pressuring Chicano on out of the tank role position here. There's going to be a cage fight for Vicious Control. I don't even think they're really going to need it. It's just going to kind of be a cleanup ult here for them, but they should close this out just simply with the ability, especially on that first pick.
Oh, Brigitte missing from the fight. Pick up Pepper just caught by the cash shots. Now you're seeing Chicano again run into point as the last member trying to get something going. Cardiac overdrive being used to get a little bit of that health left, but now the health bars are dwindling. A slam 2 from Lemonade is going to secure the map going to Vicious Control.
Look, in the business, we just call that a bit of a comp difference. I mean, it was, again, just a lot more frontline pressure on the side of Vicious Control here. It just seemed like that's what you wanted to be doing with the Reaper anyways, but they just all in on it, and it worked out in their favor. They were just able to force Chicano to really, give up a lot of the space they were trying to take, and then pack in Lemonade, who was just able to then capitalize. We come out of a meta initially last where, it's all about engaging and disengaging and how are we controlling the space. And Vicious Control has showed us that they are okay with just running down and just out damaging the front line. So no real space control and no space play needed here.
Exactly. I mean, there really is nothing else to do. Granted, Li Zhong, I feel like those were the best points for what Vicious Control wanted to do, right? The Reaper, you're seeing it more commonly in the meta for a reason, right? It's not just some niche thing, right? So we'll have to see maybe if Demon Kittens, they want to, potentially go somewhere that it favors a little bit more, open up those options a little bit, maybe get some nice routes for the Reaper to walk in here. Because again, very interesting format we have here heading into the postseason, where you're not only worried about the map pick coming through, the mode pick, right? Yeah. There's so many mental mind games you can play back and forth with this, where, maybe denying people a mode altogether that they're comfortable on by just picking it out right early.
I could imagine a world where Demon Kittens just say, all right, we want to play Pharah. Spark's really feeling comfortable on the Pharah. Let's take, a hybrid and pick a good hybrid that we can, use the skies in, maybe something like a Blizzard World or even a Dorado. I could see them doing, forcing something like that if Spark is really insistent on playing this Pharah. But I do think, like you said, it really does provide a lot of counter pick. And I think that's one of the things that here in Overwatch land, we're really kind of getting right in a lot of ways, is the ability to kind of give the benefit to the loser in that regard. The other one I want to call out there is Rafa's Cassidy looks very, very solid. Found value with the Deadeye when you're not supposed to, but just did also a great job of applying a lot of that frontline anti-flank pressure. So these DPS are really helping to dictate a lot of the pace of play, really kind of forcing the Demon Kittens to slow down how they might want to approach, and then just kind of revving it up whenever they feel they have the pressure onto the front line.
Exactly, right. And DPS, they really do have to be the standout players in these sorts of situations, because everybody else with the composition, it's very sort of almost turn-based Overwatch, right? Slow, where the Junos, they know that when they have to use Speed Ring, the Malgos, they know when they have to use Cardiac Overdrive. It's very sort of set Overwatch where you know what's going to happen with the rest of the team. So those DPS players are going to be the difference makers time and again here. And like you said, those key picks coming through is always what matters.
Yeah, the First Bloods mean a lot in this kind of a meta right now, because like you said, it's very easy for just a Brig and Juno to sit back, and you can see it on the line there. Kyobia was really kind of uncontested. There was no question. Like, we don't have the numbers, but I would guarantee the deaths were sub probably 2. Like, I don't think Kyobia really had a ton of deaths other than the team wipes. So, there was no pressure onto the backline. I think that's the one thing that Demon Kittens can do, and try to put that on, bring in your Tracer, bring in something to put a little pressure on the backline, because if they're too busy pulled with their attention, it isn't going to be the pick size. And, well, I guess I'm just, sometimes you just know exactly what's going to happen here, Lass, and sometimes that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, Pred Master Soab, praise be unto him, has predicted it correctly. We are heading over to Blizzard World for our next map here, which means the hybrid selection coming through as well. And like you said, I mean, it makes tons of sense, right? You're going to see a lot more of this Vara play. You're going to have to be able to take it from the, wherever you
Yeah.
want.
I do think now for Vicious Control, your kind of hand is forced here. We didn't see anything that I would argue is a medium to a long range, and now that Spark can kind of sit back a little bit further and just kind of rein in those rocket shots, I wonder if Rafa's going to have to pick up something different. It might be the Widowmaker, it might be the Ashe, and I don't really know what Sorox is going to really do, because we saw them play Junkrat and we saw them play Reaper, showing just kind of shorter range, which you're going to keep the Reaper anyways. Like, that's going to keep on there. So the flex spot from Rafa here is going to really kind of tell us how this second map is going to play out.
And it's going to be so crucial, right? Especially with those matchups. I would be interested to see if either team ends up opting off of the Malga. Blizzard World is one of those maps where teams have, maybe tried to lean towards the Diva or even the Winston at times. Fun Wrecking Ball plays as well, of course, simply because there's a lot of verticality across first and second. Once you get over to third point, it's kind of back to brawl in terms of the basics. But yeah, I mean, the tank actually can be a little bit versatile because, again, it comes back to that backline being so damn consistent. Juno Brig, I mean, it's meta for a reason. Every single hero in the game can be reliably healed by it time and again here, regardless of playstyle, and it's what really has been enabling them so far.
Yeah, and like you also mentioned earlier, I mean, Orbital Laser is just still so good. 10% of a bot, like 10% additional charge to it was nothing. Like, that's just an extra little bit of poking. So, we're not seeing, I think, the dependence on Orbital Ray to win fights that we had in previous, in the previous meta. But I do think it's still a really good indicator to see if your team is, if you're landing that Orbital Ray onto the opponents correctly, it does really sway a lot of these fights. And like you said, considering that Juno also can get in the air versus the Pharah, I'm going to be watching now onto Kyobi and I believe it was Spec, who, they've been playing the Juno. They still have to be able to duel while they're in the air.
Yeah, and Juno, I mean, there's so many roles that a Juno player has to fill because, you think just of the healing, the speed ring coming through, but, those torpedoes as well being a massive source of damage when they come through completely unexpected, as well as just the damage Juno can put out, right? If your whole team's healed up, you've got that orbital ray going, why not fire off a few shots, see what damage you can get in? Into these fights here, but as we are just setting up for it, teams just making sure everything is all situated, they've got all the swaps and stuff they want and things like that.
Let's talk about that really quickly, because Chicano does show that they enjoy Winston, and you had mentioned, the verticality. There is a chance that they could play something else here. Let's remember that the Winston on a Brig comp was very, very, fringe. It worked in moments, but I see two of the three key pieces there on the side of Demon Kittens. It is going to be a sub for Sorexis, so they are probably bringing in. I was wondering if Rafa was going to pick up the mid to long range hit scan. It looks like Sorexis is going to do that with Ashe showing us there, so that kind of makes sense. You sub out your Reaper player, your kind of your close range fighter, and that makes a lot more sense to me. I do actually think that, Chicano. Look, I think Chicano might stay on this Winston. I think all things considered. Especially for, like you said, with point A, this capture point segment, how important it is to be able to control the high grounds and even B, for the most part. I do think that you can play it, but I also do think that when Vicious Control sees the Winston, they're just going to turn around and just punish the heck out of it. Like, they're just going to go back to the Reaper, they're just going to go back to the Cassidy, and they're just going to deny any of the fun that Chicano can have. It's going to be the Juno Brig backline, like, that's less a concern. And Ruby coming in, I believe, also is going to be an interesting pick, because this Widow's opening shot probably isn't going to stick around past this, but if depending on what they choose to go to after this is going to tell us a lot about how Demon Kittens are going to play.
It will tell us a lot here depending on the swaps.
Ashe, okay.
Yeah, I mean, Ashe is standard here, so now it's going to be about that control of high ground as teams are just sort of pushing forward, waiting for their opportunities. But what do you make of the Anas on the board?
The Anas on the board makes sense, at least for the Winston. Chicano's going to go back to the Diva, though, just play a little bit more defensively. It makes sense when you just want to focus on single target. Vicious Control, you're playing the Iliari in the back line, so you have two sources of healing in the back, so Naomi is just now free to keep Lemonade fully gassed up to the max. And Hubie choosing to play into the Iliari plays is going to be a lot more aggressive in regards to dueling and playing control here. So I do think it works for their style.
Works for their style as Lemonade anteed up, has to back up to make sure healing comes through as Demon Kittens are slowly making their way in on this attack, but this attack has already been stifled as Chicano is going to lose that mech, runs out of defense matrix, but as Baby Diva actually gets the pick on the Lemonade, and now QB missing from the fight as well. That healing pylon gone means Vicious Control may have to back out here for at least the time being, as pressure's already being applied to the point by Demon Kittens.
Yeah, the Maga is going to get just out-aggressed when it events a defensive comp, so it's going to be the Doomfisters from Lemonade to try to contest this, and it's just going to be stalling out this point as best as we can right now. Chicano is going to come back to a mech, but, I mean, Pickup Pepper has Nano already, so this is already just a definitive win for them as long as they put the Nano on a good target.
They might not even need it as Lemonade is down, so now only 3 members left for Vicious Control, and it seems like they're just going to get out of dodge. They don't want to fight this, and this will just be Demon Kittens getting the point.
Okay. I expected a little bit more out of that from our previous map winners, but I guess they're just going to try to play the rock, paper, scissors first instead. They'll go to Sigma. Again, just slowing it up and playing it more to a raw pick comp for Vicious Control. They're going to try to maintain this high ground. And what a Pulse Bomb grabs Pickup Pepper, and that means they might actually push into this and slow this up now in the choke.
The choke is now going to be brutal to break through without your Ana healing, so this is going to have to be a moment where Vicious Control gets to have control of the map here. These shots raining in from the Ash, Chicano simply having to wait for that healing to come through. Meanwhile, Naomi, currently in the middle of nowhere, knows that the Tracer duel is probably happening, but just going to be now a Diva engage, finally starting off this fight. Chicano going forward here, already half health on the mech, though, has to be careful. That Nano Boost does not make you immortal. The under pressure, though, and it seems like Lemonade will be able to survive this one. The payload slowly moving, going to get around this first corner here, but the Ash is looking, get some nice shots in on the Tracer, doesn't come up with a pick just yet here. Both teams still standing at 5. Now the Diva mech so incredibly low, but before Chicano could be followed up on, the Bob has to be responded to. A Pulse Bomb directly onto Sorox's feet will finally secure the kill. Both Ashes now missing from the fight, making a 4v4 situation, but the Sigma Ruff is going to deny the high ground here, so while the payload just keeps on chugging, Chicano is just going to be stuck down here for the time being.
It's been fairly weak investment for the side of Demon Kittens to get this much cover. Light is in, does manage to splash, but it's no picks out of it. So unfortunately, a bit of a whiff from Vicious Control. Considering you had 5 ultimates, this is probably going to be your best chance to get it out. And now your Ana's gone. So Demon Kittens just roll this to the end for basically free. Vicious Control have all the tools to make this work, but they're just so out of sync. It's costing them the map, quite honestly.
Yeah, I mean, Vicious Control, they really sort of just gave that one up, it seems. I don't know exactly what the decisions were there, as the mech is going to be given up. The already trying to find the shots on the Baby Diva, just not going to be enough here. And again, we're just going to see it keep on moving.
I mean, Yubi's going to hopefully not die out of rotation here again, considering how aggressive Demon Kittens are playing. I mean, this is just definitely shows us the Demon Kittens exactly why they wanted to come here. I mean, this looks to me like they did exactly what they wanted to do, and they set the mode and map exactly what they wanted. But, I mean, Vicious Control should win here. So, surely 4 ults is enough.
Massive Gravitic Flux already kills the Ana. Now a Pulse Bomb into the background should be the damage done here. Rafa coming up with 2. They even invested the Nano Boost, though, so you're kind of wondering how many ultimates you really needed in that fight here, as the D-Mech now means Chicano is probably getting staggered somewhere on the map.
Nano's an interesting beast in this comp because you really don't, like, you kind of use it for Sigma just to keep him more stable, and Lemonade kind of just, that's why Lemonade didn't really take a bunch of damage. It doesn't really go to anybody in particular here. Like, maybe the Tracer is the best target, but it's kind of a throwaway, and that's wild to say that. Sorexis did hold on to Bob, though, and with no defensive across, they should be able to just set up a crossfire and hopefully win with the Bob there. Ruby did go over to the Widow, try to get a little bit more pick potential into the dive comp, but Spec did also give up Spec was back onto the Juno, so I think we know where our orbital ray-based bread and butter is located here.
Exactly, as now it is just kind of Vicious Control poking from multiple angles here. They're trying to disrupt this dive before it can ever come to fruition, is the name of their game right now for this defense. But the Winston finally getting an opportunity to jump in is going to be met with a Bob thrown in on the other side. Thorax is incredibly low, will be followed up on, but the Tracer is now eliminated, and Lemonade is going to be able to find that finishing blow as well. Now making another one with the Rock, beautiful, and it's going to keep this defense strong.
Ooh, Lemonade looking good on this Sigma. I mean, it's not, you don't have that many anti-dive pieces for Vicious Control, but you have enough, you know, that you can make this work. Demon Kittens is going to, again, just Ruby's just unfortunately going to lose out to Tracer there, and Sorixus going to go over to the Sojourn again, just try to find another answer. But, I mean, there's a Flux and Sunlight on board, so surely there's enough damage here to close out this dive. But Chicano has to get out immediately, and it just feels like the Demon Kittens just lost all their steam. These dives feel like they're just half completed, honestly. Oh, that would have been a great rock, too. Damn.
I saw the vision for that rock, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. This dive, it definitely is not coming to fruition. You're looking into this next fight, Vicious Control, tons of tools for them to work with as rocks are just being thrown towards the spawn doors. Demon Kittens, though, not giving up just yet, still having time in the bank to work with this payload. Is going to start moving back down the hill again. Now Chicano jumping and getting closer and closer to that Primal Rage, but the Captive Stun's going to be the first ult out. Now picked up in the sky with the Gravitic Flux as well. QB ends up only getting one here. Chicano getting a little bit too much value before finally going down. It's a 3v3 situation here where the attackers are going to be respawning much faster. So as long as these supports can manage to live, and that'll help as well. That Pulse Bomb sticking directly onto Sorox's forehead. And now Lemonade, not long for this world. The anti-nade applied. That is going to be some healing, though, coming through. They were able to not find the follow-up in time. Chicano now in the backline trying to use this Primal Rage, seeing what they can do as Rafa as well, trying to do the exact same on the other side, causing problems here. But a nano boosted Iari is not going to come up with the kill or the healing onto Lemonade here. So Vicious Control, their defense is starting to fall apart, and I'm not really sure where it's all going wrong.
I mean, considering the Demon Kittens just kind of swung it back, it was a very half-hearted dive that kind of failed for them, and then they just regrouped quickly and caught Vicious Control unawares, realistically. Last 30 seconds, and Spec has a laser, orbital laser up. I mean, that goes early and hard, and this wins the fight for them. They should clear this with overtime.
I mean, look at this. Lemonade already so incredibly low. Nobody else can get to the car.
Oh,
and
not even?
just
Okay.
like that. 3 kills makes Ruby seem like a god there at the end, and 22 seconds in the bank here for the full completion from Demon Kittens. Completely unexpected.
Yeah, I mean, Demon Kittens looked pretty handedly in points A and B, and then just kind of seemed like they hit the brick wall on C. But realistically, you know, they looked great until they tried. It just kind of took like a Mystery Heroes of pieces, right? Trying to figure it out, because Vicious Control wasn't really playing like an anti-dive. Chicano stayed on the Winston because it was perfectly fine for them to get value. All they had to do was just jump in, cleave, find any target to really follow up on, and it would have been over. There was just unfortunately no spark to really kind of tag team that and kind of clean up those kills. But Vicious Control never really focused on a target, realistically. You know, Chicano would have been an easy target on those dive with minimal support, and they never really did. So I mean, that looks like they're going to try to match it. I'm not really crazy about that. I think you should just run this down on the Maga. I know you have the high grounds to maintain here, but I think you just run it down on Maga. That's my personal take, is just force the issue. You already know you win on the Maga duel, so I don't see playing their game really benefiting you. QB is going to stay on the Iliari, also it looks like, which I'm less a fan of on attack. She's very more pick-based. She's very more stay in place, and this dive comp is not going to do that. So I'm very curious to see how the Iliari fits in, because that is an easy target to exploit.
Especially when the dive is also present on the defense, right? The counter dive options are there. You're seeing Vicious Control push forward here. Chicano peeking out, seeing exactly what all the hubbaloo is here. Now it is just going to be a nice dynamite chucked in. Doesn't manage to make it up to the high ground. Sorox just trying to take some shots from the low ground here. Not the easiest angle for the Ashe, but still one that can potentially find value. This pylon, well placed, is going to continue to provide healing for the Ashe, allowing these peaks over and over. But an antied up Lemonade is going to immediately be deleted at the hands of Chicano here. Rafa does manage to find one back, though, taking Spec out of the fight here. So as long as Vicious Control wait for their Winston to respawn, they should have a good crack at this. But I don't know if Demon Kittens is going to let them, as Ruby's already found one onto Rafa here. They're keeping their diva in the fight as well.
And considering Lemonade is now back on the ball, Spec is going to go to counter the Brig, play a little more anti-dive. That's kind of what I was waiting for, with someone just decide, oh, we're just in a dive mirror. Okay, I'll bring in my anti-dive pieces. I mean, Rafa is closer and leading the Pulse Bomb, so a little bit of poking means Rafa might be able to open this up, regardless of where the rest of these teams kind of lie.
And now that slam comes through, dropping the D.Va incredibly low. Pickup Pepper as well, not able to do a lot, but Spark is able to get to work, removing Lemonade. I guess there just wasn't any healing in time for that Wrecking Ball, and a sleeping Ash as well is about to get woken up by the D.Va here. Doesn't actually get the follow-up just yet. Beautiful biotic nade on the side of Naomi is going to keep everybody alive on Vicious Control as they wait for their ball.
I mean, Bobs are coming into play now, as both Ashes will have it. Pickup Pepper did build their Nano first. And again, there's kind of, at least you have a Brig now who's a slightly better target for this. You might even just Nano Bob, but they're going to give it to the D.Va and try to put the pressure on the backline.
And they're doing just that. There's so incredibly low, finally followed up on. Now the Captive Sun being dedicated, I think, directly into the backline. Does manage to find one on to Pickup Pepper before going down, but Rafa is cracking this point wide open. Chicano having no care in the world, just trying to follow up onto this Ash, and it seems like they're going to find nothing but a lost mech in the meantime here. Rafa just getting the cap going, and this should be a good unlock if the Spark has something to say about it.
Yeah, if you're Chicano, I think you were a little ambitious. You probably wanted to just at least feed on point, give your time to come back. Because now it's going to be a 4v5, and they'll have to invest Bob that doesn't even make it there in time. That is just worst case scenario. The rest of Vicious Control can just get out of dodge and wait that through. And that was just the worst case scenario. QB is going to go over to the Lucio, and it's going to be a little, okay. Probably just to get there a little bit faster. Still on the Iliari pick. You know what? They're making it work. It's still not my favorite, but they're making it work. And considering Vicious Control have their own Bob into this, in addition to a minefield, they have a lot of space control. It's just going to come down to layering these ultimates in positions where they can kind of trap the rest of Demon Kittens for progress.
What they're looking for here as a beautiful anti-nade is going to send Demon Kitten spiraling. Spark cannot get out in time here, so now the rest of the Kittens is having to make moves to back up here, but Lemonade is not going to let them do it for free. The Ash will be followed up on. Incredibly low is now Lemonade trying to escape the grasp of that Tracer here, and they do make it back to the payload to get that crucial heal.
It's going to be important, even though the ball is super mobile. I mean, you do have two supports that can heal very, very quickly and just kind of keep them up. Man, especially winning, again, with no ultimates on boards, they should be able to control the space and get some damage here. Perfectly done.
Yeah, massive minefield onto the backline. Nowhere for Pickup Pepper to go. Ruby getting a nice pick here, but it seems like it's all for naught as Vicious Control have speed run point B and are going to be approaching C with a similar time bank that Demon Kittens had.
The one thing Vicious Control is doing also a little bit better than Demon Kittens did is they are playing the dive just kind of more coordinated, right? You see Rafa and you see Sorxus really following up and kind of chasing on the targets that Lemonade's putting pressure on, and just kind of making sure that they are moving as a full unit. That's what makes these dives comps so effective, is when the team gets in and supports, when they find the one target that they can all follow down. It's just kind of what makes this comp so strong, and the stronger team on that is going to win right here. Demon Kittens have 3 ults, make that 4. I believe that's going to be Chicano coming back into a self-destruct. Yeah, they have 4. It's just going to be, they should be able to put their foot down. It just needs to not be an overcommitment, because they will get the pendulum swung back on in the next fight.
We will have to watch here. Ash is taking shots at each other incredibly low, but no kills coming through yet. Now that Bob being dedicated exactly as predicted. Beautifully placed in the center here as a Nano D.Va is now going to come through. Chicano incredibly low, but does manage to get at least one pick. Now having to dedicate that D.Va bomb here just to try to get back into the mech while Spark goes to work removing Naomi. Now we're watching this Wrecking Ball Lemonade try to protect their backline, but you just don't have that same level of peel, and it seems like Control has finally been stopped.
Yeah, also kind of forcing the fight into an awkward side room does not work well for the ball, considering D.Va just kind of can eat up everything in that hallway. It was a 2 ult investment for Demon Kittens, so they have Rally and they have their own Bob with nothing in the way of it. Lemonade is going to come into mines, but it looks like you're going to have to really struggle to find value with those mines versus this Bob.
Exactly. So now with that Bob being thrown in, like you said, Demon Kitten's actually just going to be able to hold space with this one. Control just chooses to wait this out. And so now they're looking forward into that next fight. Like you said, this potential minefield coming through as that Bob finally takes off for whatever the Omnic Butler does when he's not here. Minefield being dropped into the backline now. It's more of a space creation tool than anything else. Chicano will lose mech as the rally is popped from Spec, trying to keep everybody healthy. But without your tank and this payload starting to move forward, somebody's going to have to step up, but members are falling left, right, and center. Now with Spark missing on the Tracer here, it just seems like it's going to be a quick roll into the end. A beautiful touch at the last second from the Lucio, but you're not going to get anything else than that. And with 2 minutes to spare, Demon Kittens have a lot ahead of them.
I mean, even Kittens really wanted to go here. They thought they were going to be able to win in the dive, thinking, well, we can't win the Maga Mirror. Maybe we can win in the dive. And I mean, hey, that's your number 4 seed. That's control. I'm sorry, that's number 5. That's the upset from the control side. They are just showing that, look, we can still play ball. We can take advantage of those small, very kind of overlooked buffs to ball that maybe kind of just got lost in everybody else. Ball did get a little bit more ammo and a little bit more, I believe it was damage out, just a little bit of damage output. So it helped clearly, but most of that was on the back of Lemonade and Rafa, who were just able to go and disrupt and then capitalize from the Demon Kittens not really knowing where to focus down those targets. So Demon Kittens will get to attack first with a 1 minute on the clock. And I mean, you have a dive. You have a full dive comp. I really just want to see them get onto Kyubi. Kyubi doesn't really have a ton. There's a singular boop on the Iliari, but it's really not like that's your most vulnerable target. That's the one you have to get onto, and you need to commit multiple targets into that if you're going to make this dive work. That's the crux of this comp. Lemonade is eyeing the Zarya, really going to keep them guessing here. And that's probably going to be, again, because they expect the dive coming. Those bubbles are going to be great to make sure they can protect the team, especially since you don't have to worry about, keeping them both for yourself. You can just play in and play into this kind of an anti-dive and then profit from the charge that comes from it.
We'll have to see if profiting is occurring here for Vicious Control. Ruby already able to remove that pylon nicely. Some bubbles being forced out, but Chicano's HP incredibly low makes this Winston a little bit hesitant to go forward. Lemonade just shooting out with this particle beam, just trying to see what damage can be done. Now high ground being taken. Again, Chicano having to wait for heals, but meanwhile, Lemonade has struck first, removing Spark from the fight. A massive thing here, and now Rafa being able to find one on the spec. It's a complete bad situation now for Demon Kids. They either have to die or get out because they're losing time.
Yeah, they have one more fight left, and they built nothing off of that realistically. Pick a Pepper over on the Kiri is, I believe, is also just a reset. It's the closest to an ult. Ruby's going to go for some pick value, and Chicano's going to go to a ball of their own. Yeah, we're just trying to get any sort of burst damage and any sort of value and disruption. Anybody who can sustain on the point, because we know this is coming. Vicious Control is set up on the point, though, so they are going to be able to wear down a lot of these targets. And, I mean, there's a Graviton Surge just around the corner. Oh, is there... Oh.
Ooh, you have to worry about it. Recall already forced this Wrecking Ball so incredibly low. Somebody else has to come in to touch the point. It will be Spark. Ruby has been found by Rafa here, and it seems like it's all going wrong for Demon Kittens as they're just falling left, right, and center. Nobody left to touch this point. And Vicious Control now just needs one tick to take a even greater lead in this series.
It's hard. That is a tough spot to be in. The pressure is on your back. You have a minute. You know it needs to be a perfect 1 minute fight. But admittingly, again, those dives just never really came to a full fruition. You had a great look onto Kyubi there. You really pressured out. You got the turret before you even dove, and I really loved it. But we just never really followed it up. We kind of committed, pressed out, and got a couple abilities out, and then decided, okay, we need to get out. We have no one following it up, and this is where Vicious Control is going to show you how to do it. They're going to probably stay on that ball, maybe even the Winston or a Diva if they want, but they're going to do that, and you're going to see Rafa follow up and sort of just turn their aim onto whatever Lemonade is deciding to knock around on the ball. Demon Kittens, you have to know this dive is coming. And they're just going to try to play the counter dive into it. I don't know, Lass. I'm not really. I kind of wish Spec would at least go over to the brig, give us something. Kiri, that's a lot of movement, but I'm not sold because Lemonade is far more mobile, even against a mobile team like that.
I mean, the upside maybe potentially being the mobility will be the thing that keeps them alive, right? Maybe thinking that the brig would just be a little too stationary, could even be focused down with all of the dive. I mean, realistically, right, as much as Lemonade has been a problem, Rafa has really been just doing numbers on this Tracer right now.
Oh, yeah, Rafa is really the linchpin to all this. Lemonade is just there to disrupt and create the chaos for Rafa to really kind of survive in, and that's what the rest of this piece does. The Iliari, Naomi on the Ana, and Sirexis on the Ashe, they are all duelists. They all can win, so it's just waiting for Lemonade to call out who is disrupted and who is, has their back turned for everybody to capitalize on.
As now the Wrecking Ball trying to capitalize onto that push onto the high ground, ultimately going to be knocked down here now. Chicano jumping forward, looped in a little bit too forward, has to get back They are able to get the pylon, but no actual people, as Rafa has found the first one once again. I feel like this Tracer cannot be stopped. Chicano, well, good awareness, realizing the Ana is here. It's going to force the nade to come through, and Chicano now solo HP can't get that kill because the peel is there from the rest of the squad. Mega Pepper does manage to get one onto Naomi, but it's all falling apart. The defense is crumbling one by one. The point pressure is now being applied, and unless there's a miracle coming through from this Soldier 76, Vicious Control now find themselves one map away from continuing on to round 2.
Vicious Control are just flexing here. They won in the meta Maga, in the Maga meta. They won in the off meta ball choice here. I mean, it's unfortunately just kind of a distinct, like, look, we can beat you on what's meta. We can beat you on what you want to play. We feel confident coming into this. We've done our homework, and it's actually pretty impressive. I got to say, this number 5 seed really just showing they did their work coming into playoffs. They really understood what it takes to win in the bracket segment here.
I mean, yeah, could not have said it better myself. They're looking incredibly strong right now. Vicious Control, one map away. Demon Kittens are going to need some sort of bounce back here if they want to stay in the upper bracket. And hopefully on the other side of this break, they can find exactly what they're looking for. But make sure, during this break, if you need to, go get yourself a snack, do what you got to do. Be right back in your seats in about 5 minutes because we got more CGL action for you to see. XYBA, hire them today. That's the point of that ad. But anyway, why talk about the advertisements when we have CGL action to talk about here? In case you've been living under a rock, you're just now joining us. Vicious Control up 2-0 right now, one map away from sealing the fate of the Demon Kittens in the lower bracket here. And I mean, so far, right, if we're just trying to catch people up to speed, what's been happening so far? What's been the difference?
Control has been winning. And the difference has kind of just come down to the team play, if you ask me. On the Control segment on map 1, where we saw 2-0 from Control, they just kind of, it was two meta comps. We saw the Reaper Maga, and they just kind of played it a little bit better than them, showed a little bit more restraint, and kind of had their timing a little bit better. Then we go over to Demon Kittens' pick of Blizzard World, where we thought maybe they were going to keep trying to push this Pharah issue, and instead they lose to the ball comp, the ball dive of Vicious Control. So, I mean, it just feels like Vicious Control have decided that they are going to win. This is their game of Overwatch, and they are just not going to be defeated. They understand whatever comp or whatever Demon Kittens might want to be doing, they are going to prove that they can do it better, especially going into map 3, another Demon Kitten pick.
Yes, indeed, and it's a very interesting one because, again, you can pick the mode. So we're heading to push for map 3, and it's going to be Aruna Sapi here. I think the upside here, like you were talking about, right? We wanted to see the Pharah Blizzard World, ultimately didn't see it. This should be screaming Pharah, right?
Oh, yeah.
Tons of narrow sight lines. It's harder for these hit scans to really get around these rooftops to see where the Pharah is coming from. Meanwhile, the entire time, just rocket after rocket landing onto these grouped up team compositions you're going to see on the bot here. It should be smooth sailing and clear skies for the Pharah.
I have to imagine that's going to at least be the plan from Demon Kittens. You do have a substitution. Reveroni's coming back in, who we saw them earlier on map 1 play the Reaper, which may free up Spark to go take to the skies. And like you had said, I mean, this is, a nice little quaint village setting, so there's plenty of buildings just to hide. You don't even necessarily need to worry about cover because you have so much of it. If you poke a little too hard and take too much damage, you can recover on that. But with Reveroni coming back in, I kind of just get the feeling we might be going back to the Mauga. They showed us, I believe it was a Junkrat and a Reaper, so that kind of inclines to tell me that they are a closer range player. They might even stay on that Cassidy we saw there of a preferred pick, but I just have to assume, say a flyer, any kind of flyer, I'll take it. The Echo is going to be the change of place here, a little bit more mobile, a little bit more in and out, and the Duplicate does give you a little bit more ability to kind of maybe steal the Maga and put pressure on the front line. Vicious Control, no swaps. They're going to bring in the Cassidy, and Rafa's going to stay on the Tracer, which, yeah, I agree. But I think the most interesting thing that, again, we have to highlight is QB over on the Iliari. Opting out of the Juno and playing this instead as their comfort pick really has actually been quite impressive. Just being able to not only maintain the healing for this high needs comp, but also just winning duels and getting picks.
I mean, this is just a support player rejecting the meta here. I want to play my fun hero. And hey, listen, this is Yari's map, so I absolutely support QB in this endeavor, as currently we're seeing Malgas shoot each other. Nothing new there, of course. Going to force now the fade out from Reveroni. Everybody grouped back up on the side of Demon Kittens, as they're already under siege. Chicano having to again charge out here, and Reveroni does not have a fade this time, not even realizing the Malga has left. Cardiac Overdrive being popped in the small room. Everybody's going to be nice and healthy. A stomp onto Lemonade makes it a little bit harder to live, but thanks to Lemonade having that charge, able to just leave the room here. And now, I mean, this whole time, right, the bot's just going to keep on rolling for Vicious Control.
Yeah, Chicano just leaving my man Reveroni there out to dry is kind of the story of the night. The positioning for Demon Kittens has just been a little out of just a little bit out of sync, just kind of not really lining up their attacks and their teamwork. So tightening that up does give them a chance, and the first pick on Lemonade tells me they've decided to tighten it up a little bit.
Tightening it up a little bit, but you got a lot more to do. Cardiac Overdrive is going to keep the Malga healthy, as Spark now able to get that one onto Storox, and looking for more here. Going to be just pathing forward, but it seems like they're just waiting, buying their time for the next fight.
Yeah, and that was a quick win for them, so it works in their favor. Sorix's does have the high noon. It is going to kind of just get thrown into the wind, maybe find one with it. But Spec on Demon Kittens does have an orbital laser. It's toned down. It still wins a fight, but you really have to make sure you find and full advantage of it, and this is a great place for it.
The cage got no one, but then somehow Chicano decides to charge into the cage and make it work for them, especially with the orbital ray over top here. 2 Malgas is better than 1, I guess. I'm not sure what just happened in that fight, but Demon Kittens will now surely take the lead.
I mean, that was a good old combo. I'm not disappointed into it. I think we maybe didn't need the duplicate, but I think it was a nice little cherry on top. Pick a Pepper is holding on to the only rally. Naomi has one across from them. So Kyobi's the difference maker here. I mean, on this Iliari, they've done it before. They do it again here. I mean, it's the sun's about to shine. We'll see who it shines down on.
We'll have to see where it lands. So many members of Demon Kittens grouped up in so many options, as now we're taking the fight at the bottom of this hill. The sun going up into the sky, only going to catch onto the Brigitte, who has rally, so should be able to live for the time being. Now both Malgas jumping on top of each other. It will be Chicano, the one going down. It's Sorox on this Cassidy, finding pick after pick. These shots are ringing true as the rest of Demon Kittens is sent running for the hills.
I mean, again, about what you expect out of it, but a good ult, considering Vicious Control is just a team that can all duel here. I mean, everybody here, there's no really good target to get onto except for maybe, you know, the Iliari, who has proven that they are going to win out. Naomi held onto their rally here, so Rafa opening up and with a Pulse Bomb is probably a likely target. Reveroni has the is holding onto a Death Blossom, but there's no cage for it, so this is probably just a slow fight and a lost fight for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's already coming up everything for Vicious Control right now. They'll be able to secure their forward spawns as well as the team kill gong is going to ring out, and Demon Kittens are again sent back to spawn.
I could tell from that death Reveroni was looking for a Death Blossom, but again, nothing really to pair with it. You really need Cage Fight to make this successful. And now Vicious Control are just leading. The War Chest of Ultimates just grows here. They won that for free. So now they'll have a Cage Fight of their own. Paired into a rally means everybody into the cage. We are going to go fight in. And Reveroni again on a flank almost loses their life a little bit early here. Reveroni cannot afford to be the first blood again.
Cannot afford it here, so Demon Kittens now taking space on the top of this hill. It's going to be the Cardiac Overdrive with the Blossom as well. Ultimate's being thrown left, right, and center, but Sorox's Deadeye will be the value found here. The rally's going to keep that Cassidy alive, and now it's all blue in the kill feed as Vicious Control again get a massive team kill.
Reveroni going to go match the Cassidy now. Just a little bit more pick potential, still frontline, tanky. I mean, considering Reveroni tried to capitalize on the opponent's cage fight, I'm not... Ambitious is a good word for it. Spec is holding on to... Never mind, Spec is back in spawn, so that means this fight could go the way of Control very handedly.
Yeah, I mean, it already is.
Done
Now
here.
This bot's continuing to move, and
We're done here.
this is potentially about to be a full cap, like you said. Rafa's Pulse Bomb could be the ceiling factor here on anybody trying to touch as we're dipping below 2 meters. The charge comes through, we're on the cart, and they have an Orbital Ray and Cage, so this should not be capped at least this moment. 3 people caught by the Captain Sun. That fallout's about to be there. There's 1 explosion. They're looking for more. They are able to find him just yet as the sun finally wears off, and Chicano is getting the kills needed to stop the full cap from coming through. Lemonade so incredibly low, though. Managed to kill Pickett. Where did the Lucio come from? I don't even know what happened there. Now the Cardiac Overdrive is gonna keep Lemonade alive here, so it seems like they're still willing to fight this Vicious Control. They want the full cap.
Wow.
They will not be denied what they came here for.
Wow.
It's 3 for the Malga, looking for the 4th. The bot, it needs to be capped. Someone's gotta be on it. Lucio's now speeding forward, trying to do what they can. They actually managed to kill Lemonade, and because nobody was on the bot while Lemonade was killing everyone, it's not done yet.
Lemonade absolutely just came to life in the end. There has been a standout player all this match, but I mean, getting 3 with the Mauga alone, just turning a lost fight into basically like a neutral. Could have maybe gone on if the reinforcements had got there in time, but 144 is basically as good as a complete. That means it's at least 2 to 3 fights for Demon Kittens to even get back to their position, and with just a duplicate, they're likely to lose this. I mean, they do get the pit here for free, but that's not enough.
Enough as now that Slam comes through trying to cancel that Deadeye. Their duplicate, though. 2 Malgas are always better than 1, as now both are put on their backs as the second cage fight comes through. Rafa is trying to make a difference, though, has removed both supports from the fight, as well as Chicano, and now the duplicate's going to wear off without anything coming through, so Rafa, as with the help of these supports, is actually making a difference here. Both these DPS for the side of Demon Kittens are going to be heading for the hills because they're just too scared and they can't fight it.
Yeah, there's no real winning against that squad when they roll up. Naomi holding on to the only rally here, the only ultimate in sight. I mean, it just means that Vicious Control with a well-timed rally win this for basically free, considering how dangerously low they fall. And Lemonade again opens it up with 2.
2 already. That slam catching onto everyone. Lemonade will pay their life for it, but now this bot's going to move to the end of the map, and the question is, will it actually be able to end here? Will they be able to
Yeah,
cap?
we're
And
done.
just like
That's all
that,
it was.
was just 1 meter separating the distance here, and Vicious Control start their bracket with a massive upset to continue on in the winner's side.
That's what I love about watching these 4 and 5 seeds is you really can't predict what's going to happen here. The one thing I do think that works for Vicious Control is that you're feeling really good about this meta. You're watching your tank player kind of just dominate, and Lemonade looks fantastic throughout all of this series across multiple tanks. I think you're feeling really good about your tank and your shot caller here, especially because this is a pretty dominant win. Like usually we can kind of, even kind of fudge it and say, oh, it was a closer 3-0 than you think. No, this is a pretty dominant 3-0 from Vicious Control overall.
Exactly right, and you proved it across multiple comps, right? When we went over to Blizzard World, we were doubting the Ori the entire time. We were doubting potentially the ball pit coming through and things like that, but Vicious Control certainly made us eat our words. Demon Kittens now are going to be on 1 life remaining down in lower bracket, and maybe this is the wake-up call that they needed on the other side of things.
It is, and well, they'll hopefully have that chance because as Vicious Control does go on, there is a chance that if Vicious Control loses again in the next, I guess, formal segment of the bracket, they will go down to play Demon Kittens again. So, I mean, they're probably feeling pretty good in there, and even knowing how strong, like how well they took this one, I don't even think they're really too concerned about losing in the next matchup. I think they're feeling pretty good and cruising into this. Demon Kittens, like you said, just the number 4 seed, you had a great season. Just unfortunately, this might not be your meta, and if that's the case, you have to just kind of think and hit the books because the playoffs are done. Like 1 more and you're out. This is no time to flounder.
No time to flounder indeed, but soaring to new heights, Vicious Control looking phenomenal here. And, while we could sing their praises all day long, I'm sure they can do a much better job of it themselves. So, if you'll bear with us just a moment, loyal viewer, we're going to go set up an interview with somebody from Vicious Control, but we will be right back. Alrighty, we have our person from Vicious Control here to interview. It's going to be Lemonade,
Hey
the
guys.
star tank player. Already here. Hey, hi to you. I mean, just how are you doing?
I'm doing exceptional on this evening, actually. How are you doing today?
I mean, it was some incredible 3 Overwatch we saw here, so I don't think either of us are disappointed. But I mean, it was a phenomenal showing from you guys and the Control squad. You know, we were looking at map 2 because map 1 was obviously, we saw a lot of meta. We saw the Mauga, we saw the Reaper. Sure, everybody's excited for that. But going into map 2, when they picked Blizzard World, what were your guys' thoughts going into that? Because we saw you bring out that ball, Lemonade, and that was just an entirely different game. What was your thoughts going into Blizzard World? And did you know you were going to be playing the ball full time there?
So no, I tried going monkey, but then my teammate Rafa, he like told me some bad words and he called me bad and stuff, you know. So I decided to go ball. Told me to go ball. I went ball, and we would just win the game for free. You know what I'm saying? It's that simple.
No. I mean, it definitely, you definitely made it look absolutely coordinated between the two of you. I mean, it felt like you spent it felt like you just knew exactly what you wanted to do a whole way through. And it sounds like the coordination from your guys' squad is just there. I mean, with how big this Vicious org is, like, how is it feeling as your squad versus like the other squads? Are you feeling any pressure from the other Vicious subgroups there, or are you just not even worried about them?
I mean, the only other Vicious team that's like all right, it's kind of like the Sharks, you know what I'm saying? So
Okay.
that's about it.
I mean, hey, listen, that's fair. The inner org call out, I love to see it.
Yeah.
So obviously you guys are getting to move through the winners bracket here. If I'm not mistaken, actually, your opponent is already waiting for you in YE Snowfall here.
Oh, snap.
Obviously, Snowfall looking like a very good team. Do you guys feel like you're prepped for that match, or maybe you guys really got to hit the books for this one?
Oh, we got to hit the books, all right, bro. We got to hit the whole library, bro.
Yeah.
The whole library.
I mean, Snowfall's no joke. We know that they are a good team. I mean, but we don't want to take up any more time. Any other people you want to shout out? Any other people you want to thank before we let you go back and celebrate?
I want to shout out QB. You know, he came in clutch last second, pulled up to the game. I want to thank my mom. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's about it.
Beautiful.
Alrighty. Well, thank you very much for the time, Lemonade. We hope to see you in more matches to come here. And obviously, you know, go celebrate. Go enjoy the night with your team.
Yeah. Sure.
Alrighty. So very interesting interview there, to say the least. You know, the honestly, I give respect to that, right? Shouting out the mom. Moms are great. They do a lot.
I mean, look, you know who supports you when you were younger, and you know who supports you in QB here in Overwatch. So acknowledging who your support pillars are is such an important part of not just Overwatch, but a life. That's some big life lessons with Lemonade in reality. But considering how well they played here, you know, the support is strong. And I mean, I think they definitely are off to celebrate, and they have to be feeling good about it, because that is just one of the many playoff games already to a close tonight.
Exactly. That's the great thing about CGL. It's the gift that keeps on giving. We had the 3-0 here for Vicious Control, but going on the other CGL channels, we have Golden Hour currently 1-0 up against Ace of Spades, and then Dacre Sun currently a 2-0 victory, might be cruising to a 3-0 of their own against Vicious Inferno. Vicious, you know, you got to represent, right? Vicious Inferno, they got to bounce back after Control 1 already.
Yeah, I mean, you can't let the other members of your org just you can't let them do that. There's a hierarchy, and you don't want to, you don't want to lose that on scrims against someone who is just going to dunk on you the whole way through. That's truly worse than even getting knocked out in playoffs in a lot of ways.
Exactly. But with all of that being said, we'll probably go ahead and raid one of those lovely games here, because that's all the games we have on this channel for tonight, of course. So I want to thank you for casting with me. Always a pleasure to add a new caster to my Infinity Gauntlet. We had Hippie running things in terms of technical direction, and then I believe we had, I'm trying to remember who our observers were. We had Poofa. Lovely Poofa, and the bakery. So got to give them their love as well. If it weren't for them, we could not do our jobs here. But with all that being said, we're gonna get out of here, and we will see you with some more CGL action next time.
Go to CGL 2 or 3 and keep watching.
Yeah, that.